Well, hello. Good evening.
Well, it's been an evening. I think we can acknowledge that that's happened. I don't know if it's been a good one.
Yeah.
We have not taken as much flack in
Ever.
all our time of doing this.
Right. I am really, really confused at the moment, right? If you're tuning in to hear a Chantal Baker conversation, we'll get to that shortly. Get to that conversation. We'll get to that thought shortly. But I am a little bit in shock tonight. I am in a little bit of shock from a position of ignorance, meaning I don't understand some of the stuff that's going on right now in our community. And I'm also in shock, a little bit of shock with the response people are giving to us. And let me just say this, giving to me, because I want to make it publicly known that the conversation with Chantelle has nothing to do with Chewy. Nothing in the slightest to do with Chewy. Chewy wasn't involved in the booking. He wasn't involved in the conversation. And in fact, I kind of feel, Chewy, the reason you're here is to support me on some level with this idea and this conversation on some level. I mean, this is yours.
I'm here for a couple of reasons. Mm. You know, I mentioned, like, this is something we've been talking about. We've been circling these groups and we've been discussing it. So is it for as long as we've been doing BHN. And yeah, I wanted to see the interview. I wanted to be in the chat. I wanted to be having discussions with people. But as far as the timeline of tonight goes, you know, you chucked up a very basic tweet saying that what we were going to be doing tonight, which is something we've been discussing basically all week, that we were trying to get going. Was it going to happen? Was it not going to happen? Was she going to flake out? Was she going to follow through? Turns out she followed through. So yeah, you chucked it up on Twitter and my phone exploded. And it's been really hard because we've had a lot of flack from followers on our Twitter who I just want to be really clear that we haven't discounted their opinion at all. In fact, we've given it a fuckload of weight. How long have we been talking off here? 2 hours? Pro and conning this, and you know, black hatting it, and
let's just take a half step backwards, because for people who, like, there's people in the chat going, "What the fuck did I miss?" Chantelle Baker is a well-known anti-vaxxer, anti-mandate figure, and a bunch of other things that people will accuse her of as well. But that's the thing that most people know her for. When you hear about the protest that happened at Wellington in January and February, she's typically the person that people speak of who got 100,000 live streams, you know, more than the mainstream media. That's her, right? That's her thing. Now, there is really a lot more baggage that comes with that. But for 2 weeks, we've been talking about on the show, talking to Chantelle. People who know me know that I will talk to contrarian positions, and Chewy and I previously have had it out over one particular guest that Chewy didn't want me to talk to, and it was it was probably in the earlier days, Chewy, when I mean, not to sound like a dick, but maybe I felt like we didn't have quite the same ownership of the show that maybe we did today. So I kind of went, well, I'm doing it. Whereas now it's a different vibe because this is our thing very much more together.
Yeah.
And I'll put it this way. I feel like our audience, the people who watch this show and interact with the show, have been quite keen to hear that conversation. So today, I don't know what time. It's felt like the day has gone for about the last 2 hours, 3 hours feel like there's been about 20. I feel like I put a very simple tweet out that said Chantal Baker tonight, long form conversation with Pat. And I'm not trying to sound like victimish here or anything like that, but I've heard of the Twitter pylon being talked about by people, and I can only assume that this is what it sort of is, the pylon. And look, if you're one of those people who have voiced your views in that Twitter, those dozens if not hundreds of Twitter comments, I'm not saying this like, no, don't pile on me. I'm just literally saying it was a new experience and I hadn't experienced that before. And the thing about social media, and I guess in particular Twitter, if I went and I'm not trying to minimize the serious nature of the conversation, but just to talk about what the pylon is, you know, if you're a busker and you went and stood in a street, it's very unlikely that you're going to get 40 or 50 or 100 people standing around you going, you fucking asshole, what are you fucking doing? What are you fucking doing? But across Twitter, it's really easy and it's confronting. And let me say this, as I said to Chewy, I think I phoned Chewy at about 6 o'clock and told him what we were going to do. And then I phoned him at 7 o'clock and said, well, let's record an introduction because the conversation with Chantelle is recorded. And then I phoned him at 8 o'clock and said, dude. And he went, dude. Because we've had experiences tonight of people who I am deeply care about, who I deeply care about the causes that they push for, who and I'll be honest, I'm not in the same camp as them. I don't do what they do, but I want to do everything I can to support them doing it, who have just wiped us off the face of the planet. Get away from us. Don't come near us. Fucking idiots. You know, I won't even make a reference to people on the show or anything. I don't want anyone I'm not mentioning anyone by names. And there's a part of me, and maybe this is going to sound immature, but there's a part of me that goes, why are you being so mean to me? But there's another part of me which goes, man, there are these people who I respect deeply who are sharing some really angry messages with me right now. And I need to figure out why. And if I'm really honest, we had this conversation last night about me, and I'm always very open about this, right? I'm not part of a community that is in danger of being vulnerable, unless you include gingers. I'm not part of the community that gets harassed and stuff on the street. So I don't get it and I don't understand it. So on some level, the anger, I'm being honest, I'm ignorant to it. So when I say approaching from a place of ignorant, I don't understand what it's like to walk in your shoes. Now, well, I've got, this might end up being an hour show of talking, me just talking to you, because we've just done 3 hours of prep of just talking. Let me finish this point, right? So I don't get it, but equally, at my core, I'm a communicator and a broadcaster, right? That is my core being. That's who I am. And that's my, for want of a better word, identity. So I live for talking to people. So I live for talking to people and trying to get to understand them. That means I have the capacity, and Chewy's seen this and others seen this, to talk to people with abhorrent views. Because I'm passionate about understanding people and knowing people. And a lot of the feedback coming back today, the last 2 hours, it's felt like a whole day, has been, how dare you give a voice to that position. And I'll say it again, I don't understand it from a position of not being the victim of it. That doesn't mean I don't sort of intellectually get it, or I don't understand the words that are being used linking these people to these ideologies, but I don't get it from a it's not deep within me from my perspective. For all of those privileges that I have that I talked about last night, right? I'm just being really honest with you. Yeah. Like I said last night, my thing about privilege is it's something that you don't earn, don't deserve, but get an advantage from. So, heterosexual, white male, none of those things have I done anything to own, right? But there is no question that there is a privilege that comes with them. So I have been going backwards and forwards in my head, and I asked Chewy this question. I said, Chewy, there's a lot of conversation going on online tonight about what we're doing. People telling us that this is going to be harmful. Yeah. And I'll be honest, the broadcaster in me went, Chewy, does our audience want to see this conversation? Because there are already people who have told me, and I am paraphrasing, but I think I'm paraphrasing fairly, get the fuck away from me. I never, ever, ever want to speak to you again or be associated with you again because of the announcement, not even the content that's been seen or not, but the announcement of talking about it. Now, to be fair, the position is any content is bad because it gives this person validity. So when I say not the content, I'm not trying to say, oh, you want to ban the book, you haven't even read it yet. I'm saying it's not about the content, it's purely about the person. So, yeah, so me and Chewy have been talking about it for the past 2 hours. I'm a bit of a strange sausage that sometimes, it's not that I believe in fate, but I do believe in issues when sometimes things happen. And I've used this example before, not to tangent. Like I remember when I was married and I was working at ZB and I woke up on a Friday morning and my throat was the sorest throat I've ever had. Like it was like, imagine the sorest throat you've ever had and multiply it by 3. Yeah. So I phoned my boss up and I know it was so bad I was going to take the weekend off. I said, look, I'm not available this weekend. I'm not going to be in. By that afternoon or that evening, my sore throat had gone away. That night, my father-in-law died. Like that night. And I was off work rather than having to work mid-dawns and have someone die. This happens to me a lot. You know how we didn't do a show last Monday because I had technical difficulties? Not getting into the details, but there was quite a big parental issue in my house on Monday night. And if I had have been working, it actually could have been more detrimental to the person in my family that was having a big night. It's just so weird that I had a genuine technical difficulty that I couldn't do the show. Then I was desperately needed in the family that night. Before we started the show tonight, I've got the conversation. I was going to load it up and and my computer crashed. My computer crashed and I disappeared. And that's why we didn't start the show till about 2 minutes past 10. My computer crashed and I was sitting there going, for want of a better word, is this the universe telling me something? My big, powerful, beautiful computer went, nah, I'm going to say no to this. And I got back online and I said to Chewy, we don't have time to load this up. We're going to have to go live. What do you reckon? And Chewy said to me that he didn't feel good about this one.
And we're going to say, I have oscillated wildly over the past couple of hours. It's been like mission control here. Are we go or no go? My personal view, and when it comes to platforming, there's a couple of things that, and I've said it on Twitter, I'll say it here now. I think when we talk about whether BHN is going to platform Chantelle Baker, that makes a couple of assumptions. That she doesn't already have an enormous a platform of people that she can talk to already. So I don't think we're really adding a huge metric to who she's talking to. Also, are we delivering her to an audience that would be receptive to what she has to say? And so, yeah, I'm going to say it's not platforming. We know, as people that have been discussing and looking at these people, these organizations, and what they're saying and what they stand for, that they're vile, horrible people. And I think you can do two things. You can shut them out in the dark, and they'll just continue talking to them fucking selves and all agreeing in their little hateful echo chamber. You can drag them kicking and screaming out to the light and see if their views actually hold up to any sort of scrutiny or judgment. Again, I haven't seen this interview that Pat
Chewy hasn't seen it.
So I think that has been my biggest concern is I want to back it, but I can't because a lot of it is unknown. And that's down to the fact that I would have liked to react to this live. The things that people have said to us, the messages that we have got, they have come from people that we really put some huge weight on what they were saying. Some of the stuff, I don't know if hurt is the right word to use, but it's certainly some of it was a bit of a gut punch, that it doesn't matter what we've done to date this year, the way that we've talked to people, the evidence that we've put through of what we stand for and what we're trying to do with our little platform.
So can I add to that? Sorry to cut. I'm not cutting you off, bro.
No.
So what that means is one of two possibilities. Either everything we've done doesn't matter, or this particular conversation is so very harmful that actually it's so big that any good work is overshadowed by it. I don't know which one of those things it is. I really don't know. So sorry, Chewy.
No, it's fine.
I'm just going to keep drinking my beer.
And I can see a lot of comments that are flowing in now on the broadcast. People going, don't give in to cancel culture, which is a little bit too right wing for me. So we're just going to put that aside there. And you know, people that are part of our regular audience, hey, look, we really want to see the interview. And I'm not going to say now whether we are going to play it or not. I'm purely going to say that we're going to take a knee on this one. And just give it a little bit more time and consideration. And hopefully the people that have been giving us some very strong messages see that we're not just going, nah, we're doing it anyway. It's more than that. Those people are important. Our audiences are important. What we're trying to do here with BHN is also important. We're not always going to be talking to nice people that agree with our point of view all the time, because sometimes you just need to grab something out into the light, pin it down, and dismember it.
I think what it comes down to me, to be honest, Chewy, is, and I'll be really honest, yeah? If this was me doing this by myself, I probably would have played it because it's on me. But I actually think it's not, part of it's not fair to you as well, Chewy, because you haven't seen it. And if we play it and it does all the things that people are concerned about, it's not fair actually to tarnish you with that brush. Because look, I'll be honest, yeah? I know I like talking to people with differing positions, contrary, be they serious or not very serious, you know, and I'm good at having those conversations, you know, it's something that I enjoy and I'm good at. But when I've had the conversation, I don't really even know how it's gone until after I see it again. And so I'm really in two minds about this. And what's happened is people have left us, they're gone. They're never coming back already, right? We've been asked by some people
that way
to remove content that they've been on the show. Yeah. And again, it doesn't matter who it was. I'm not going to identify who it was. But people have actually gone from our community for the idea. So I have this thing where I'm like, and look, we've also been accused of white splaining, and we've been accused of all these words have been used against us already. So really, me sounding naive is just going to confirm all those people who think that's the case anyway. But and I know what I'm saying to some people is going to sound really naive, and to other people it's really serious. But it feels like what I want to say is, if we were to play it, and it was going to be bad, and it was a mistake to play it, then we'd apologize and would admit we got it wrong. Now, I already can hear and I can see the tweets metaphorically that people are saying you can't afford to put stuff out that's going to be harmful to people anyway. I don't agree with that in general. If you watch this show, you understand that when I talk about speech, I say I err towards the side of more speech. I don't believe in free speech, and in fact, the free speech as a coverall. That I talk in the conversation about that to Chantelle, and I say, because it's recorded, obviously, and I challenge on this idea. And the example I give is, neither of us would support the idea of a podcast that explained to teenagers how to commit suicide. No, of course not. We wouldn't support. So there's not a coverall. I'm not like a absolute free speechist, because I think it's nonsense. But I tend to err towards more speech. My ignorance, and I'm actually not doing, people are like, don't let people counsel you. I'm not doing that. I'm actually trying to have a really honest conversation. And you know what? Part of this honest conversation, what I'm actually thinking, and I think it's set up at the moment, is if you want to come and help me understand this, then why don't you jump in our fucking Discord and come and have a chat with us?
Because this show has morphed wildly.
Well, I'm just saying.
But this is a great discussion. I'm
the link.
We're having it.
It's in the chat. There's the link. Go into Discord. Go into the waiting room. Don't be a cunt, and talk to us. If you want to explain it, talk to us. And there you go. There's it up on the Discord again. Because I have to be honest. I don't get it all yet. And when I don't get it, I tend to want to sort of
trash it out.
Well, it's not even so much that. It's like I listen to the experts, and what I don't know, and I'm being honest again, whether it's the experts talking to us now via social media, or whether it's some very loud and squeaky wheels. I genuinely don't know, and I don't say that to disrespect you if you're on Twitter and you've fired us one of the 6,000 messages that have come through, because I don't know. I don't know why one position or one opinion is so bad that you're going to be basically banished from that person's life forever, and the other opinion is gospel. I don't know. And look, I know I probably sound like some fucking moron going, well, you should know what's going on. You shouldn't put out stuff that you don't know all the answers to. But that's what we do every day here, especially when we have guests on, whether we agree or disagree with them. What's we kind of, I mean, I'm not comparing, various serious issues around, the anti-vaxxer group and those mandates and various supremacies and all that kind of stuff with the what are they called? The tax union. But we talk to them. We talk to people who have completely differing opinions to us. We talk to David Seymour, and we tell him why people think he's racist. It's what we sort of do. But this is really, really fucked with my brain. This couple of evenings, it has really, really fucked with me. And I said to Chewy, 10, 15, 20 minutes before we were due to start, I don't have clarity. I really don't know the amount of, and I appreciate someone, and I don't appreciate like you need to defend me. In fact, there were people starting to defend me, and I sent them some private messages saying, stop. You don't need to defend me. Don't get into the middle of it, including you, Chewy. You don't need to say anything. It's like, I'm a big boy. I don't mind criticism, but I don't understand the level of vitriol right now. And I forgot what I was going to say about someone in the comments. Someone in the comments kind of mentioned the heavy-handed nature, I think, of what some of the words that were going around Twitter about it at the moment. But I have been thinking about what I should do tonight. What we're doing right now could harm our product. It could help our product. Playing Chantelle could harm our product, could help our product. Don't know. Playing Chantelle could harm communities, could help communities. I don't know. But because there are some people who I respect who have made their voices very heavily and well known, but because I'm confused, this is really fucked up my thinking process. When I got back in after my computer crashed and Chewy said I'm not feeling that comfortable about this one, I've agreed with him. So we'll keep chatting for a while, but Chantelle Baker's conversation is not coming up tonight. And I agree with Chewy. That doesn't mean it's not coming up at all, but it's not coming up tonight. So for the people who think that we were ridiculous and evil and a threat to society for saying it might come up tonight, well, you can still think that because it might still come up, but I don't feel confident and comfortable about putting it up tonight. And I want Chewy to see it, and we'll go from there on another date about that.
I mean, I'd certainly reflect on the fact that there were some comments, say, when Fire and the Fury came out, that was potentially platforming people to a new audience that didn't know about them. But by the same token, I saw so many people go, like, it's kind of obvious that those are some of the people that I've had my eye on for a while as being really disabling elements of the discourse in New Zealand. But there's so many people that don't know these people exist. And I would always sort of bring it up and go, look, there's people that are saying this about the government, and Jacinda's a communist, and it's all a UN conspiracy and that sort of thing. And they'd laugh it off because they didn't think it was real. If you don't know about these people, you know, people saw Fire and the Fury and were just, their eyes were blown wide open. They didn't know that this sort of shit went off.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the intention was, at least, is to get it out there and for people to see it, and just be able to evaluate it on her own words as laughable, repugnant, vile, stupid as it is. You know, but there's, like, we'll put our hands up and go, look, we're going to take a knee on this and give it some more consideration, because there are some people that we respect, their opinions that we respect, that are going, I don't know, guys.
And I'll be honest, I do not want any kind of praise or anything for this, because I'm on the fucking fence. You know, I'm being real with you. I'm on the fence. But I guess we talk about erring on the side of more speech or less speech. I'm choosing to err tonight on the side of more caution rather than less caution. I actually don't get it. And I can actually see fucking Discord has gone a bit bananas, and there's a whole bunch of people in there. I think there's a rule in Discord that you have to wait 10 minutes before you're allowed to chat to stop kind of spammers and that kind of stuff. So for you guys who are first timers in there that I'm looking up at right now, we're not going to wrap up here just yet. Are you, I mean, I didn't even check this with you, Chewy. Are you cool having a chat with some people if they
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
That once your 10-minute purgatory's up, if that is the case, then you need to go into the waiting room. And when you're in the waiting room, I can see you and drag you across. I will also say that I hope this thing works. That's the only other thing. So yeah, the other thing to now be aware of as well is we are now, and look, Chantelle may well be watching right now, right? Maybe. Or if she's not, I'm sure this will be sent to her by someone. So we're also now, are you having a beer as well? Oh, fuck, bro. Cheers. 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 Chink.
I'm having a juicy lawless, because I love a good beer-related pun.
Now there's also a situation that because I myself have made the decision to have this conversation, if we don't show it in its entirety, it could be, of course, then used in different ways by other groups, because I'm sure it got recorded on the other end as well, because I know when I ever do an interview, I was recorded on my end. So there's that element to consider as well. But as you know, I think for tonight, I think we're choosing not to do it. But for all the people who are saying that I'm paraphrasing, platforming a monster, I'm paraphrasing. I'm not giving you any kind of guarantee that it's not going to happen. I think Chewy say we're taking a knee is just is fear, because you know what, and that's why I've said come and join us in Discord, because
it's a Friday night chat now, and we've got a meaty enough topic to discuss.
And you can turn into a group of people who can help me in particular. Chewy's far more eloquent and to me, but you can be part of our process. And I don't want to. I'm really aware that some people hear it, they go, "Oh no, a white man needs to learn more about his privilege." I'm not saying that. I'm literally saying how we learn is through communication. I'm dyslexic, yeah. And how I actually learn is through audio and video and the spoken word. I'm not so good with the reading side of things, which is why my YouTube feed is full of news and that kind of thing. Yeah, that's how I learn.
And I have ADD, so I learn by fucking up and then being told that I fucked up later. So this is.
Here's the thing, yeah, and I get that there's a difference because we're now talking, and I can see Politica was in the waiting room, so we might go over there in a sec. Hopefully it'll work, because I know we've had some audio problems in the past. If it doesn't work, I apologize for you guys jumping in there, but I'll come grab you in a sec, Politica.
I'm going to put up a few of the comments that we've had in the chat while we're waiting for that.
So just to give you an example of how I tend to operate, and I've told this story before, when I was working on News Talk ZB in the first decade of this century, I used to talk to the whole kind of the Greenpeace world and the climate change denial world, and say, let's get you both on and have a chat and have a bit of a debate and get it on. And the Greenpeace world used to always say, we're not coming on because we're not going to validate their position. And my response to them was always, the thing about that is, if you don't come on, then people like me, who are at that stage were still kind of figuring this stuff out, don't get to hear what you know and what you've had the privilege, luxury of learning for the past 10 years. And I have this thing where I don't like to stop conversation, but I also acknowledge that talking about climate change is very different from talking about someone's, absolute health and someone's, safety. Not the same, but that's what it is in general. Do you want to put some comments up and then we'll grab Politica, will you?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So I've been looking at the comments as they scroll through, so I'm just going to chuck them up in the order that I got them at. So yeah, it definitely feels like that. So citizen journalism meet citizen censorship. That sort of hit pretty close to the bone there. Comment from Paul here. I want to see it too, but maybe BHN had a good reason to not, because it would cause harm, and that's basically the feedback that we've taken.
And look, I'm going to say that again, and I know some people, the ones who have already basically deleted me, I still don't know if it would cause harm or not. We're being told it would, but I want to know more. And I'll say it again, I actually had conversations with at least 4 individuals and groups before talking to Chantelle, and there wasn't a single one of that. Now, and I mean like people who are involved in this, who do this for a job. None of them said don't platform me. None of them. Because, and so I've come into this evening thinking, well, no one's told me not to. I know it's going to cause a few hiccups, but then this uproar on Twitter, which it does also make me think, and I'll be honest, is this 10 people on Twitter, and actually we should just play it. So I'm just being honest with you. That's where my head is right now. I'm not going to try and put on airs and graces and go, oh, I have learned from my ways and I've fallen. I'm now literally working through this in real fucking time in front of you in an embarrassing way. But that's what we're doing.
It's certainly not the amount of people that have messaged us on Twitter, but it is the people that we know that have really dropped the biggest weight on us.
Yeah, and those people who we thought we knew, but now they've deleted us and want us to have nothing to do with them.
Yeah. Jay here says, not playing it adds to her narrative and notoriety. It plays straight into her hands. I think it's a mistake on everyone blowing it up by blowing it up.
Yeah, it's true.
This is what I particularly agree with. You need to understand your enemy to win the battle. Sometimes you need people to expose themselves and their flaky ideals.
So this is the thing, because that man there often talks about what's his name, Hake, and says he had concerns about us talking to him. But then,
if you haven't seen that interview, go and watch it, because
But
it
then
is
when
with
we
one of
did,
the vilest humans I've ever seen.
we had a conversation where I just was basically asking questions, and like I always say, Maya Angelou said it, when someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time. And I like to ask people questions, they tell us who they are, and we believe them. Now, what I'm uncomfortable with and where my head has gone around this at the moment is I don't know if I've done that well enough in this conversation. So I don't know whether it's a conversation where actually people are going to be right and this is a net gain positive for Chantelle or not. Now, I didn't go into it with a net gain negative. That's because I'm an interviewer and I don't do that. I don't go in going, going to smash this one. I go in going, I want to know who this person is and I want to ask them questions so they get to tell us who it is. And if it's abhorrent, then you guys will see that. And if it's not, then we'll find that out. Now, I know what most people are going to think about that they're going to say it is. That's not how I go into an interview. I don't go in with the idea of trying to take someone apart. I don't think that makes for good practice. But,
And while acknowledging Pat's point, I do hope for blood. So, I don't have the professional standards. It's been mentioned a couple of times. Pat's been doing this interviewing game and talkback game for a long, long time, and I have a background in broadcasting as well, although much more limited. So I think there's sometimes a perception that because we're doing this low budget and that sort of thing, that we don't have the experience that goes with it as well, or the credentials. We're not at broadcast TV level. Neither of us is going to interview Obama anytime soon.
But that's only because of their side of things, not our side of things.
Yes, absolutely. Where were we?
We've got people in the waiting room that I want to get to shortly. So what do you want to do?
Okay. We'll power through. No, there's heaps more. We'll come back. I'm going to do one more. Rob Burney. Sounds like a good call. Yes. I agree. I think it would be a very valuable conversation to have if the folks opposed to the interview are willing to talk. So we'll see how that goes.
Now, I've already said,
let's take a caller because that's exciting.
First time caller, a long time listener. Now, I don't know if this is going to work. So, Politikiwi, this might be very quick, but let's give it a go. Are you there? Can you hear us, sir?
G'day, how we doing, Pat?
Oh, fuck, it's working, bro. Look, I'll even do this, Chewie, and bring the actual Discord up onto the screen.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hey, brother, how are you?
Good. I was just mainly serving as a try one. I don't have too much to say. I thought I'd give you my 2 cents while I'm here.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I definitely think holding fire is probably the best course of action. The reason why is essentially, I mean, I know this, again, I agree with your analysis. This isn't really platforming. Obviously, Baker's audience already immensely larger than yours. I can see somewhat the argument of it might give her more an air of legitimacy. Because, if she has 100,000 loonies and then she starts talking to 100 actually sane people,
right?
Well, now it's not just a movement of loonies. By the same token, if there is actually useful information getting out from this conversation, that might easily overwhelm any point of minor air of legitimacy if the overall discourse that goes on with these anti-vaxxers is somewhat advanced in some way, in that new ideas are brought to the table or points are actually successfully dismantled to this point where they're no longer raised. Like if in this conversation you're able to just absolutely take apart one of Chantal Baker's arguments to the point where she wouldn't even raise it again, I think it would be really useful to show off.
Well, there were at least 2 occasions in the conversation where she said she shouldn't have said that, and she'd say something differently today. Now, I'm not now trying to defend the conversation, but there was a moment where, she talks about the government controlling the media, and we unpack that pretty clearly, and she comes away from it not necessarily changing her position, but sort of acknowledging. But here's the thing, and this is what I don't know. There are people saying to us that Chantelle is very agreeable in an interview and even will agree with you, but that doesn't actually change anything for her the day after or whatever. So
I know exactly the type of person you're talking about. I've dealt with too many of them in my life. And it's a very risky situation, right? Because you walk out of that conversation feeling like, hell yeah, I've done some good. We've changed some minds, some hearts. And then they go back to saying the exact same talking point they just agreed with you was wrong. Especially if they're that grifter type, the I'm here for money and for the fame and for the whatever. They don't need ideological consistency.
Yeah. No,
absolutely.
And look, I mean, I guess I'm being aware that Chantal may be watching this or listening to this, or she's heard us. She's been told that we've been talking about it, which is fine. If you are watching this, Chantal, I'll be honest with you. And for all the people who are piling on at the moment, this is not going to make them happy, but I don't know what we're going to do. Mostly because I've had my head scrambled in the last 3 hours and I'm not thinking clearly. So I'm just gonna. The thing is, we're talking about, like Chewy was talking about radio and stuff before. You know, and if this was a radio station, this wouldn't have happened, because it would have been 3 minutes past 9. It would have been after the news, and it would have been good evening, Chantal. But this has happened because we put it out on Twitter first. When I say this has happened, I mean the upswing. We put it out on Twitter first, and that's what caused me to go, what's happening here? I'm lost. I'm confused. So that makes me kind of think, well, maybe we should have played it. So I'm really, like I'm saying, this is not a, what do they call it? A come to something moment. What's that saying, Chewy? Come to Jesus moment.
Jesus.
This is not a come to Jesus moment for me. This is me going, this is actually me doing a couple of things. One is what's best for BHN. 2 is what's actually best for Chewy here as well. I don't want to drag him into something. And also 3, what's best for the community around, because who wants to put someone in danger? No one does. So I know that for some people who think that I've had a come to Jesus moment will be thinking, well, you've just let yourself down because of what you said. I'm just being honest with you. I don't know where I am right now. I think I'm in my house, but I don't know what's going on. And I'm drinking beer. So I guess that's the only solace we've got politically.
I suppose it depends on the beer if that's good solace.
Max Gold. All right.
Okay, you can do worse.
Thanks for testing the system, bro. We appreciate it.
All good. I'll leave you to it, mate.
If you are on, should we put that thing on there again about can you find that link again? Put it up again, because we got Cy in there as well. And we'll say g'day to Cy if his system's working. G'day, Cy.
G'day. I'm a bit unhappy that you've ended up receiving this amount of recourse from people on Twitter. But at the end of the day, if you're not feeling happy about where you are at the moment, especially in yourself, then I would hold off and allow the amount of rhetoric to settle, and then make a decision of where you go from there.
Yeah. No, look, and I think, to be honest, I know that there'll be people out there thinking that this is cancel culture or something like that. It's not. And I'm being really honest. I'm actively saying, Chewy said it as well, that I'm not saying this is not going to be played. I just feel like from the people that I respect tonight who have voiced such a response to this, I need to have the time to go, what the fuck? And that's what we're saying.
Yeah, I just think let things settle. And that way you can make you and yourself can make a logical decision and something that you are happy with, instead of being forced or coerced into doing something that you may or may not regret later.
Yeah. There were definitely moments with like about 10 minutes to 10 going, fuck it, we're doing it. No, we're not doing it. Fuck. Oh shit. So yeah, I think you're right. Like, to take a moment and just really analyze what we want to do with it is it's probably the best path forward. So it's good to hear it from somebody else.
Yeah. Now, if you're in the Discord, and I can see there's numerous of you in there, and if you want to have a chat, thanks. I will put you back in the waiting room, mate. And if you want to have a chat, then what you do is you jump in the waiting room, and when we're ready to have a chat to you, we'll bring it over. And to be honest, we're probably going to start wrapping up now anyway. This will end up going from one of our longest shows to one of our shortest shows, Chewy, because that's what we're doing. We don't have you liked all the news we've talked about today, Chewy? All those news.
So good. Something happened. I don't know, we're gonna change our money now or something.
Oh yeah, what about the Queen? That was sad. Did you see old Mike Hosking blubbing on the radio?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah. What about some more comments? Are there any other comments?
What else have we got? Someone who is probably related to me somehow. Review, decide, and with a clear head. That's, I think, where we landed. Amanda says, crikey, what harm can it cause? Just show it. The vitriol is full on. The day itself has been full on and maybe affecting others. Respect is a two-way street. Yeah, and I look, I think getting back to what Pat said earlier, going what harm can it cause is very easy for us to say. Because the nonsense that Chantelle is spouting with her anti-trans, misogynistic, anti-gay, conservative family values, anti-vax bullshit, it doesn't impact me the same way as someone that is in one of those marginalized groups. So sometimes being an ally is actually going, well, I don't want to, but I'm listening to you. And I don't want these people that have reached out to us and gone, hey guys, you know, respectfully don't do it. Even to the people that have said, fuck it, you're dead to me. Just because they've come at us that hard doesn't mean that we don't listen to them.
Yeah, and that's I think that's
friends,
really true.
You know, I've said it a couple of times to Pat. Friends disagree. It doesn't mean that you're not friends anymore.
Yeah, and there are people who have cut us off from the idea that we were going to do it. And to be honest, if we don't do it, remember that decision's not made fully yet. If we don't do it, I doubt they'll ever be back. So on some level as well, I kind of go, like, it's kind of hard to say it without sounding like a completely ignorant piece of shit, but it's like, how do you have these conversations? Do you just not have them at all? And how do you make a mistake? And I know people are saying you don't make mistakes about these sorts of things. I'm not trying to underplay it, but there is a bigger conversation for this, maybe about a less serious issue for some people, as to how you actually then do it. Like, how do you have these conversations? What do you do about them? I mean, do you just not have them? Do we just not have these conversations? Do we do what Greenpeace did in 2004 and say we are not having these conversations in any way, shape, form whatsoever because of the validity it gives to that opposing view? Is that actually the answer? Because that answer in general doesn't sit well with me as someone who likes to communicate and tends to err on the side of more speech rather than less. Not a coverall. I'm not a free speech purist, as they say, but so that doesn't generally sit well with me. But because I'm not a free speech purist, I can also understand and see how some conversations shouldn't be had. I just can't see whether this one should or shouldn't. And there'll be lots of people, most of those people on Twitter will be saying, well, if you can't see it, then you're dead to us. I get it, but I'm just being honest.
Scott here says, I'm one of the people that responded to your tweet. Absolutely no disrespect to you, Pat. I've been dealing with anti-vaxxers for about 13 years. At first, the media willingly interviewed well-known, and I haven't got the rest of that comment. So I don't know where it is now. Neon comes in with an idea. Release the content on Patreon only. No platforming, but at least our fans can see it.
That's actually not a terrible idea, but it's a bad man, because I wouldn't want to.
It's both not a bad idea, and it also really seems to be from a past scummy marketer. Really scummy marketing.
Yeah, like if you want to see it, pay us money and we'll sell it to you.
Yeah. We'll take that under advisement.
I'll take that as a joke. Can I also just say, Steve, who is in the waiting room right now, it looks to me, Steve, like you haven't got your mic on and you haven't got your headphones on, so we can't come to you. So Steve, who's in the waiting room, you need to show me that the mic's on and your headphones are on, and then we can come to you. Sorry, you go.
Yeah, I think that's Alex here saying it's a marginal decision. The marginal decision. The risk is in a 30-minute interview that there'll be 60 seconds of content she can clip and weaponize, but appreciate the discussion. I think the interview's closer to 2 hours. Is that correct, Pat?
2 hours 19.
Because we like to keep it concise. Yeah.
But that means, hang on, in theory, that means if it's 60 seconds out of every 30 minutes, that means it's a good 4 minutes of content out of 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, the idea of someone clipping it, you know, if Chantelle was screen recording it, she can edit it and release it as she wants, the parts that make her look really good, whereas our intention was to release the whole thing rather than us clip it down.
Should we go? It looks like Steve's got his mic and headphones working.
Yeah, let's have a chat to Steve.
All right, hang on, let's go over to Steve. G'day, Steve. You there, mate? Oh, he's flashing, but he's not coming through. Try again, Steve.
Oh goodness, can you hear me?
Oh, yep, got you now,
Yes,
brother.
we've got Steve now. How you doing, mate?
Okay, hang on. How about now?
Yeah, we've got you.
Yep.
We can hear you.
We got you.
Oh, yeah, cool. I think I had to pause my YouTube because it was. I'll just need to. There we go. Cool. I was just here to loop.
You're back with us
Are we
now.
here?
Yeah, we're here. You're actually on. We're listening to you.
Cool. Sweet. Cool. Yeah. But caught off guard. Never tried it before. Yeah. I agree with Politikiwi and just. Oh man. It's a bit of a rigmarole, isn't it?
It's tough, and I think that's what we've been struggling with. That there isn't really a clear cut answer. We're buggered either way. We've got we've got a good fan base that want to see it, and we've got people that we respect going, don't do it.
Yeah, that's probably a really fair synopsis, Chewy, actually. We've got, like, people who watch the show regularly probably want to see it, because remember, we've been talking about this for 2 weeks and no one said don't do it in 2 weeks. But we've got some people we respect who have said this is going to cause harm, and that's made us go, what do we do now? So that's probably a really fair synopsis.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. It's like I'm more worried about you guys and the relationships with those people than kind of us punters or anything. And yeah,
I think, to be honest, I think that it doesn't matter who it is, and we don't need to identify them, obviously, but there's one relationship in particular that to me it feels like is absolutely dead. So, and look, we're not doing this to try and save anything, and I'm not doing this to try and, like, there's no victims here from in the studio, right? In these studios, or in this studio, in that bedroom, whatever it is, because we're not doing this to try and get sympathy or anything. I'm actually aware already, like I've said, this will probably go really bad for us. No, in fact, we said this before, no matter how this plays out for us, it's a bad look and it's not going to go well. So we're not doing this for anything other than for this is a decision that we've made because of us. There's actually ultimately not a decision we've made for the other people. We're just unclear as to what we should be doing right now. And as someone I saw see in the text, if you're not sure, then wait. That was their advice, and that's sort of what we've done.
Yeah. So you were saying, like, if she's recorded the interview too, like, is there anything stopping her? Is there any agreement between you guys? Like, could she just drop it?
There's not, but I guess in theory I own it. It's my interview. So, I mean, like, I don't even want to go down there because, like I've said 2 or 3 times, I'm not actually saying we're not going to play it. I'm just saying, as Chewy said, we've taken a knee, which is a great way to think about it. But if it was a problem, or if it was clipped like unfairly or inappropriate, which I'm not concerned about necessarily, technically.
I guess then your hand would be forced then if it was put out. Do you know what I mean?
Not necessarily, because to be honest with you, I don't know about Chewy, but I've got pretty thick skin. And even if it was put out and made me look like a complete goose, I'm like we had a guy that we talked about last night, pissed his little panties today talking about us on his blog this morning. And it's like, I don't care, go for it, put it on your blog, it doesn't bother me. So, from someone who's worked in media, who had 100,000 listeners a week and used to get constant calls and complaints and, things in public, I don't particularly care about people saying things about me publicly. And as we said last night, I've never really been particularly worried for my safety. I don't actually, I thought about this afterwards, Chewy. I don't actually want to test that because I'm sure I could be, but to this point I haven't. So I'm not, I don't want that tested, but words are words.
I don't think you seem worried for your safety. I think that's fairly clear, but you would obviously been freaking out on some level about, like, what people you care about think. You know what I mean? That's more of a worry to you.
It's probably more respect as well, because there's no personal friends. It's not like anyone that is a best mate or a family member or anything like that has said anything. It's actually just people we respect. But because I respect them, and Chewy respects them, we listen to their opinions. And to be honest, I don't know, what time did I put my tweet out, Chewy? Must have been 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I put the tweet out that what was happening. So that means we spent the next 3 hours going, literally, we didn't decide we weren't going to put it on tonight until like 10 o'clock, like literally 10 o'clock. And so we spent 3 hours going backwards and forwards. So we haven't just gone, oh, we've upset these people, let's not do it. We've been backwards and forwards. We've had, Chewy's had input from mates of his. He was messaging mates of his and saying, what do you think? We've actually kind of done the mahi on what we're going to do. And when we've got to the end point, we're still not clear. And I think it's like we've done all that work, had all that conversation, and we're still not clear. So we're pausing it.
Yeah. Well, one of the options that we discussed was just not doing a show tonight and just going, technical issues.
Yeah. I couldn't
hang a sign on the door and never acknowledge it again. But I think, this discussion with you guys has been really valuable. I think you see our decision-making process and how we don't take these sort of things lightly, and we get to hear what you guys want as well. So, appreciate all of that.
Yeah. Anything else, Steve?
I'd just like to sort of say that I don't do Twitter and I don't do any of those telegrams or anything. I just got a Facebook account and a bit of YouTube, and it's quite pleasant for me that you guys kind of do all the hard yards of sifting through the bullshit, especially on the Twitter.
Yeah, well,
and watching a bit of Sean Plunkett for me, so and then you can edit it, so I don't have to fucking suffer.
Yeah, what do we say?
I just appreciate your grind.
What we often say is, we do the hard work so you don't need to. Like, we watch the thing or listen to the thing so you don't need to. And I guess on some level, maybe naively, that's a little bit about tonight as well. Like, we'll have the conversation so you don't need to. That's sort of where we've been at. I feel like we're coming towards an end. There's still numerous people in Discord. Make sure you bookmark the Discord or do whatever. I don't even know how to work Discord, whatever you need to do to make sure you're a part of it. If anyone wants to jump into the waiting room super quick, you can still do it. You might have time to. I feel like I'm back on Talkback, bro. It's coming up to the top of the hour. We might have time for one more quick call. But if you want to jump in the waiting room, we can see if we can squeeze two more in. And also, have you been starring some of those messages? Is there anything you want to put out there?
Yeah. So this is someone who hasn't seen in the chat before. Pursuit 82. Been looking forward to this interview, but agree with Chewy. Sometimes allies have to take a seat and listen. Politikiwi there again. I think this is the most genuine, reflective episode of this show, and a best demonstration of the moral character of BHN. I really appreciate that.
I just want to make this really clear and say this again, though. There's no victims in these studios. We're not doing this, and I don't want any kind of well done, guys. You did the right thing. I'm being honest with you. I'm still conflicted. So this is a pause, and we're thinking about it. So please don't like offer any platitudes or anything like that towards this pause, because if you're someone who thinks that it shouldn't be playing, it may still play. I'm just being frank with you. So don't. This is a pause for pause sake, and that's about it. It may not play. We don't know, but this is a pause for pause sake right now.
We'll take a couple of days and think about it. We don't know. We don't know what we don't know.
Okay. I think there's no one else in the waiting room right now. You guys can have a few seconds to jump in there and see if it's going to happen. But other than that, I feel like we're done. Is there anything, Chewy, we talked for best part of 3 hours before we did this show. Is there anything that you can think of that would be useful to offer up to people that we've been talking about, or have we explained it?
I think we've explained it. Like, whatever decision that we came to tonight, it wasn't going to be arrived at lightly.
Yeah.
And whether you agree with it or don't, or whether the decision that we come to later on in the week is not to play it or play it, whatever it is, we know that some people are going to be disappointed either way. But we've taken our time. We've given the decision the weight that we think it deserves, and we've given people's opinion the weight that we think it deserves. Don't feel like you haven't been heard.
Yeah. Yep. But listen, I'm being honest with you again. I'm still sitting here going, as a broadcaster, I would just normally talk to people. So I guess the person who said the sit and listen thing, I guess that's what I'm doing. And again, I don't need any kind of platitudes for that. I'm not trying to say I'm a good boy and I'm listening well. It's just like, I'm in a place in my life right now where I kind of go, in an ideal world, we don't want to do harm. I still don't quite understand how this could do harm, but that's, as I've said several times now, it's probably because of my own biases, privileges, whatever word you want to put in there, and I'll spend some more time trying to figure that out.
Yep.
And the other thing is I'll send it to Chewy. So therefore, if we do play it, it'll be his fault because he'll say, "Yeah, sweet, play it." So that's the other thing.
You've been very clear to try and absolve me of any wrongdoing.
But once you see it,
and then you've got
fully responsible.
Yeah, but next week it's all on you.
All right, team. I think we're done.
It's been real.
Sleep well tonight, boys. Being conflicted is the correct response, I see. And then there's a few kind of conversations in there like define harmful. Well, I think that's the thing, Tracy. What is harmful? I mean, what's harmful to me is not harmful to you. What's harmful to, another individual in a vulnerable community is not harmful to Chewy, and unless it's the ginger community, then that's always.
I think I've got an example of that. Look, Chantelle has been responsible for encouraging people to stalk by filming people without their permission. That is harmful. Like, not only from the fact that you've got someone sicking stalkers, or we were talking about how vile some of the shit that comes out of Kiwi farms was last night. To encourage that sort of behavior towards people is harmful to their mental health, and that cycle of people egging themselves on can lead to some real physical consequences.
Yeah.
So that is harmful. The damage that can be done to the relationships with the people that we talk to, that's harmful to our show. So yeah, there's a gamut of what harmful can actually be.
Yep. Hey, well, thanks for being involved tonight, guys. I don't know whether to just say thanks or apologize for, what you've heard tonight. This is not the BHN you were expecting. These are not the BHNs you're looking for. It's always appropriate to finish on a Star Wars quote, I guess, Joey. But there's not much more else to say. I mean, other than saying I'm assuming we'll be back on Monday night, 10 p.m. with another edition of BHN, probably operating as per usual. Thanks for being with us tonight. And until we see you all next time, take care. Kia ora.